it's shaping up to be a fantastic weekend. At the first round of the championship in Adelaide, there were huge numbers and it stacked up well here this weekend at Phillip Island. The weather gods haven't been kind though. It's rained right across the weekend, and this is going to make the two races here this weekend absolutely spectacular fast. Hope you enjoy all of the action. Buckle up, we're about to go racing.
Hi, Jason Bargwanna here. Welcome to the second round of the Sergeant Security Australian GT Championship. We've come from the streets of Adelaide here to the picturesque Phillip Island, a real driver's track, and we've got Clark Quinn with us, the series leader. Tell us about the change from street circuit to Phillip Island here this weekend.
Yeah, look, the Porsche is very good in street circuits, and we come away from Adelaide with two wins. So we've come to Phillip Island, which is a new track for me in this car, and the weather's quite variable. So I'm still learning the track and the car combination, and you know, we at the end of this weekend we just want to get a big bunch of points and just finish every race, and I think that's going to be crucial to win the championship.
One of the exciting parts about the GT Championship is we've got V10s, V12s, 6 cylinders, we've got V8s, front engine, rear engine, mid-engine. There's a complete variety of cars out there, as well as the tyre battle. We've got Pirelli, Michelin and Hankook out there. Tell us what it's like being on the circuit with all these different types of cars.
Yeah, it's really unique, you know. Some tracks like Adelaide is really good for the Porsche. I'm not predicting great things from me and the Porsche and here at the fast-flowing Phillip Island, but I think you get to see a mix of different cars up the front this weekend. So, you know, it's really fun, and you know, every round we go to, there's someone always different winning. So it's really exciting to be part of the Australian GT Championship.
Well, we're going to find out how much Clark loves it at the end of the weekend, because those clouds are rolling in. And Phillip Island is one of the most unforgiving race circuits that we travel to. Let's look at the layout all the way around. 12 turns in total, that long straight that leads down to that extremely fast turn one. And Jason Bargwanna, no place for the faint-hearted here.
Truly one of the greatest driving circuits we've got in the country. Down the front straight, as you come over the crest, you can see nothing but the ocean. What a fantastic view. But it's all about flow and rhythm around Phillip Island. It's a fast circuit, into turn one in top gear, back to fifth gear, and then it's all about getting the car in the right position to get the rhythm around the circuit. And
not run wide here, because this is a difficult part of the track to get right. You need to keep it tight to get that nice run down into what we used to call Honda, the tight hairpin that is a very demanding braking area, and if you get it wrong, you're generally out in the paddock and you're going to lose quite a few spots.
The wind affects the car a lot as well around this circuit. Back down a couple of gears into Honda corner as we head straight back out towards the South Pole again, and there's the ocean right in front of you. So it's one of those circuits that has a number of different challenges. There's fast flowing parts, there's third gear type corners, there's also the hard braking, which is both hard braking parts of the circuit are quite hard to get the car balanced for. It's about getting back on the power fast again.
We're across the back section of the circuit at the moment, coming up towards the top of the rise, where this massive change of direction through the left-hander and down through the dipper. Once again, another hard braking area, and in the wet, Jason, very difficult to get right.
Well, you'll see over the course of the weekend, if the rain is here and the wet conditions are make it very tricky, there's different parts of the circuit you can use. There's the high line, there's the racing line. The high line is where the grip is in the wet. The racing line tends to be quite polished and quite slippery in the wet. But here we are, one of the most exciting corners, onto the straight, the final corner here at Phillip Island Raceway, up through the gears, back on, and we're going to stop the clock at around about a minute 35, something like that.
Before we go racing, let's head back down to the pits and find out more about these extraordinary cars.
Okay, so we've got a variety of different cars in the category, all different engines, different configurations, and different speeds throughout the course of the weekend. But the real battle to watch this weekend, right throughout the entire GT Championship, is the tyre battle. It's unique. It's not many categories around Australia have a genuine tyre battle going on. We've got the Pirelli here, we've got the Michelin, and of course we've got the Hankook as well. So there's 3 different types of tyres, a variety of cars on those tyres, but looking at this weather forecast, it's this one over here that's going to get the workout this weekend. One thing you notice about the cars is when they're stopped in pit lane, they're all stopped for a different amount of time. The front row cars get allocated a 75-second CPS or compulsory pit stop time. The cars on the second row, they get a 72nd. Third row, 65. It drops 5 seconds all the way down to the 8th row, where from everyone there on gets 40 seconds. Another different element to it is with a professional driver or a seated driver, such as Alan Simonson this weekend, he gets an additional 18 seconds on top of that. So it's designed to keep the racing close, the competition great, and for the fans, it puts on a great show.
Well, let's take a look at the highlights of race 1. They got underway in tricky conditions, lots of rain falling, and it was almost like a night race out there. A noticeable absentee on the front row are the 2 Ferraris who got pulled up, Jason, for a weight penalty.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The guys ran slicks in the qualifying session, but weighted the car for wets. There is a slight difference in the weight of the 2 tyres, but look at the grid now. It's put Greg Crick and Peter Hackett on the front row. So we've got a great battle there, right down through to the Quins in position 9 and 10. Ian Palmer there in 12th, right down to Peter Conroy, making his debut in the Australian GT Championship in the Audi R8. So here we go for the start of the race. Rolling start, something we don't often see in Australian motorsport. We're away racing, but it's the Mercedes of Hackett that's got the jump over Crick.
It was always going to be very fast once they got off the line, the Mercedes-Benz machine. And of course, he is the senior advanced driving instructor for Mercedes-Benz as well, on board the O'Halloran machine, teaming up with Simonson again this year. A formidable combination.
Look at that spray as the cars come down the front straight. Very wet conditions, and it's cold as well. So I don't expect this circuit to dry very quickly, as the track temperature's certainly down in low. Oh no! Ash Samadhi there, I believe it's he's had a bit of a spin. Either that or Dean Grant, not sure who's driving at the moment, but he's gone wide. We've got cars off the circuit everywhere. You can see the Mosler done a 3-point turn, trying to get back on.
Difficult for Ash Samadhi, just lost traction. He's had a difficult start to his season, a DNF in the first race at Adelaide, and then backed it up with a 15th. Needs to prove himself here this weekend.
On board with the Ferrari of Tony Quinn as they come out of it, just gingerly on the throttle, trying to get onto the car, stepping around sideways. The tyre temp's very cold at the moment, so you can't get any tyre temp up. There's John Bowe. John Bowe from the back of the grid has already made his way up through the field. He is flying.
Well, Tony Quinn missed the first round of the championship, but he's back here at Phillip Island to make amends for that and hoping to finish well and truly inside the top 5. But Greg Crick, well, great to see him back in a race car, even though he's under enormous pressure in this first race.
He's under a lot of pressure there, isn't he? James Brock in that Mercedes SLS, the Erebus racing car. It's fantastic in these wet weather conditions. Now, Greg Crick's car, the Dodge, he hasn't got any electronic aids or the traction controls, ABS, none of that sort of stuff. So to be actually maintaining this speed in these conditions is a great job. But it's those 2 SLS Mercedes-Benz. They are fantastic in these conditions.
And Greg Crick had some difficult start to his season too, not able to compete, as we watch a replay of Ash Samadhi just looping the car around. Looks like he just lost traction there as he put the power down.
Oh, great shot from onboard Tony Quinn, but here we got Ben Eggleston. He's gone a little bit too wide, got onto the green stuff, the Aston Martin, now out in the sandpit. No, we need to be on the black.
Yeah, not too bad being on the sand because there's a lot of rain falling, so at least you can negotiate it. An intense battle taking place out there at the moment. Greg Crick getting a little bit tail happy as the Viper puts the power down. You mentioned how much power it's got at the moment. He's under attack from James Brock.
Well, he is. James Brock's there lining him up down the inside, under brakes. That's a great manoeuvre. So that Dodge, he struggles to get the power down, doesn't have the ABS as well. So James Brock, he's used that to his advantage and got through.
Jan Ginadasa, you're on board with him at the moment, the JJA Consulting Group car, making its way around. He's a guy who's progressed through the ranks of motorsport very well and learning the craft. Man who knows a great deal about the craft is John Bowe. He's just put a move on out there on the track. Started in 10th, up into 7th spot.
Yeah, JB is obviously quite fast in that car, and the one thing I notice about where JB is, look where he is on the track. He's not trying to make the apexes. He's using the wide line, the high line we talk about here, which is what you got to do. You got to find the grip. But here's Ben Eggleston. He's coming back through these down the inside of Tony Quinn in one of the fastest parts of the circuit, running out of road very quickly. But after his little off at the start, he's coming back. Tony Quinn down the inside of Ian Palmer. This is for about 7th or 8th position at the moment. So great little battle going on here. Look how those cars so close. 4 different types of car altogether.
And look at the different performance characteristics on the exit of the turn. And that time round, Eggleston getting the back of the car, stepping right out. Still trying to work on Quinn. Can't do it at this section of the circuit through Siberia, but it's not through lack of trying.
And Tony Quinn, he gets on the power a little bit early. That Ferrari steps out. Ben tries to get up the inside, the outside, through the hay shed. We're doing over 220 k's an hour at the moment, and the cars are just sliding underneath. And there's Ben Eggleston round the outside. That's what we talked about. The grip is not on the racing line in the wet at Phillip Island. And it's interesting to note too, which tyre is which car on. We've got that great tyre battle with Pirelli, Michelin and Hankook tyres. Different performances in the wet conditions. So you can see the Pirelli on Tony Quinn's car there, the Michelin on Ben Eggleston's car.
There's a lot to be said for a one-make series with regard to tyre manufacturers, but a lot to be said when you've got battles like this, 3 in it. And speaking of battles, John Bowe working on Clark Quinn. This is the battle for 5th spot. Dives down the inside, gets it done.
He's used that ABS to absolute perfection. JB pushing quite hard. As we discovered, here's the car, and there's a good in-car shot with Clark Quinn. The paddle shift on the Porsche, look at that. He's just got to move the fingers, a bit like playing a PlayStation, I've got to tell you. He loves the fast-flowing circuits, does Clark Quinn in the VIP Pet Foods Porsche. And a very capable pilot, the production manager for VIP Pet Foods. But this weekend, it's not about making dog food, it's about carving up the rest of the field. On board now with Tony Quinn. The rain still coming down, the spray down the front straight, 260, 270 kilometres an hour in these conditions, and have the confidence to turn in, let the Ferrari do all the hard work.
Difficult to do, as you say, with a wet track out there, and you're battling for position, and Tony Quinn looming up at the moment, trying to find a way past. It's almost like it's a night race, a twilight event here for the first race of the weekend.
That's what I love about GT racing. You've got the V8 powered Corvette in front with the Ferrari behind, rear engine, front engine, ABS, traction control, all the good stuff that's going on in these cars. Fantastic to drive. As Tony Quinn puts another move on and down the inside of Wilson in the Corvette.
Yeah, gets it done nice and cleanly, as you say. Under braking, down into Honda turn, now through Siberia. Once again, staying away from the apex, just runs a little bit wide there, trying to get a power down. He's able to do that and give himself a little bit more breathing space.
You're a brave man to go through the hay shed at this sort of speed in these conditions, but as the dark approaches, the light's disappearing. There's a great battle going on here between Conroy and Salmon in the 2 Audis. Fantastic looking cars they are.
Yeah, great to see both of them back out on the circuit too. Peter Conroy in this awesome looking car, and Rod Salmon from One World Sport. Good to see him out playing. We're on board with Peter Conroy at the moment, having his debut run here in the Australian GT Championship.
Both these guys driving these cars for the first time, so it's a bit new to them. They've turned up at Phillip Island in the rain, so not only they've got to get some confidence in the car, they've got to do it in these slippery conditions. And we've got Dean Custamides in the Lamborghini in front, so it's a great little battle going on here for the minor placings.
Yeah, it might be down the pecking order, but they are racing for... Dean Custamides just getting a little bit loose under that left-hander there, and that's opened the door for Conroy down the inside. 14 car goes forward, one no, he runs wide. Well, that's learning how to drive the car real quick, isn't it?
Up one, down two, so he's pushed right to the limit, and you can see it on the inside of the circuit, on the slipperiest part there. He's almost made the corner, just drops a wheel off under the grass. Lucky to stay on, because once you go under that grass, you are bogged.
Well, he had a go. It's a new car. He's not sure of the braking limitations of it. He just found out the hard way. Bowe taking on Peter Hackett. It's Ferrari up against Mercedes.
And this is for the lead as well. So look at John Bowe. He's gone out wide. He's going to go and use that grippy part of the track. Part of the track that's not normally used, and around the outside he goes.
O'Halloran and Simonson car comes into the pits for their pit stop.
So because these guys actually are off the back of the grid, they only had to stop for the shortest amount of stop time pit lane. So they do the driver change, and in he goes. So, actually, I noticed there was a couple too many bodies in pit lane, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes towards the end of the race.
Now, what's the ruling there? 2 crew and the driver?
And the car controller as well, so it appeared to be an extra couple of bodies there, but we're still on board here with John Bowe, and you can see now leading the race. So he's done a fantastic job to come from the back of the grid. He's used that experience, he's used that knowledge around Phillip Island, and he's made his way all the way up to the lead. And here comes Brock putting some pressure on Hackett as well.
Well, the teammates side by side. You don't want this, and it's done. James Brock moves through into 2nd spot. Peter Hackett falling back, was race leader.
You're in very early. What seems to be the problem?
We've got an engine misfire, and we're just
came in to see what's going on with that. Yeah, not sure what it is.
And the guys haven't found what the problem is at the moment?
No, well, the problem is that it was very bad out there. Came in missing, running on 6 cylinders. We just refired it. It's running on 8 again, and we don't know why. So we're just having a bit of a think about whether to get back out or not and just try a couple of things with the chassis to make the time worthwhile.
That's very, very disappointing for John Briggs there. Had a pretty good first round of the championship.
Now John Bauer from the lead enters pit lane, hands over to Peter Edwards. We got Peter Hackett in pit lane as well for his compulsory pit stop. So it's all happening down in pit lane. This is where the action's going to be. That Peter Hackett car starting on the front row is going to have a 75-second pit lane compulsory stop time.
JB, how was it out there?
Well, it was good. The car was just awesome, honestly. It's one of the best race cars I've ever driven in the wet, I think. We didn't know what to expect because certainly I haven't driven it in the wet before other than at Bathurst with slick tyres, which was very nasty. But it was really good then. The car was awesome. When the car's awesome, you can do a good job with it, which is what happened.
Well, he's been around Ferraris for quite some time, and if he says it's the best, you better believe it.
Now here we go. We've got, as we talked about, that Ferrari. John Bauer handed over to Peter Edwards. He's in the lead, but the 2 Mercedes SLS Erebus cars have caught back up, and this is the battle for the lead. So, contact! James Brock into the back of Peter Edwards, a second time in 2 race meetings.
Well, Peter Hackett's gone from 3rd to 1st, and Brock's the one with the issues at the moment. Well, this will be interesting for these 2 guys, 1st and 2nd on the racetrack, and a brand new team, Erebus Racing. And they've really come into this championship in a big way. Betty Klemenko, of course, and Daniel Klemenko, the financiers of it, they're passionate. They own Erebus, a brand new company here in Australia that's looking to make some pretty big inroads into the road-going market. The 71 car just being pushed out into pit lane.
There's obviously a few dramas there for the Customidis, McNinnis, Lamborghini, and they're back out on the track again now, rejoining the race.
It's a shame they were involved in a pretty good battle earlier on, weren't they? And to be down there in the pits would be heartbreaking. Jan Ginadasa, you're on board with him. Man who has been racing in Porsches for quite some time, had a stint in Carrera Cup as well. Back of the car stepping out, you can see how hard he's working behind the wheel of that machine at the moment.
It doesn't really do justice, the image you see on the screen at the moment, but it is getting very dark out here outside the truck. We can't hardly see the racetrack at the moment, so it is extremely dark out there. So these guys are doing a fantastic job.
They certainly weren't at the end of the day. It was that machine of Peter Hackett and James Brock that took 1st and 2nd, and the first Erebus 1-2 in the Australian GT Championship. But right through the field, there were tales of woes. Edwards falling back through the field as well.
It's a fantastic result for our team. We've worked so hard since the car was damaged at Clipsal. We had great pace there. We've had great pace all weekend. A little bit unlucky in qualifying, and a first 1-2 for Erebus Racing. James Brock did a great job, and I'm really stoked for the team.
Now let's just hope it goes forward from there. We'll find out. Race 2's coming your way right after this break. Well, as we mentioned, Peter Conroy is new to the series and in a brand new car, and this weekend he's looking to impress.
I'm here basically with my first round of the GT series. I've come up through the ranks in production cars, and previous class we performed quite well. We in the last 6 Bathurst 12 hours, starting in Hondas and moving up to a Mitsubishi Evo 10. Picked up the class wins over the years in each of those classes, and then 2 years ago in the Evo 10 we picked up a 9th outright and a class win as well. But this car is very much a step up from that, not only in dollar value but in performance, so taking a little bit of time to get my head around it, but it's coming. Look, this year's a learning curve for me. I'm doing most of the championship rounds this year with a view of running the whole series next year, including the Bathurst 12-hour early in the year as well. If I can manage, top something around 10th place, I'd be very happy with that first time out. This is new for me. First time on slicks, first time with a car with aero and this sort of power, so I'm not about to rush anything.
How would you sum up the GT category?
Exciting. Best cars in the world, both performance and looking cars. So anyone wants to come out and have a look, they'll be rewarded with the effort.
Well, let's get set for race 2. The cars are out there on their formation lap, and once again, tricky conditions, a wet track and the threat of more rain coming our way. Safety car pulls off into pit lane and we're almost set for a start. On board the O'Halloran Simonson machine for Maranello Motorsport. They're up nice and high in the grid.
Yeah, that machine there, the O'Halloran Simonson machine, got a penalty yesterday for having too many people over the line in the pit stop. So that's gone down the grid a little bit, but it's the 2 SLS Mercedes-Benz and 2 Erebus Motorsport cars on the front row. What a brilliant sight. Here comes the field, over $12 million of race cars, and we're racing, so off and away we go.
Scary thought, isn't it? $12 million plus out there on the track, and the O'Halloran Simonson machine trying to find a way past on this opening lap. Hackett leads, James Brock into second, Crick around the outside for third.
And still only that, it's Alan Simonson in that Ferrari. Look at that, he's moved around the outside of 3 into turn 1, into turn 2. On the high side of Clark Quinn, but he's on the power. He will stay there as well. What a great start.
He worked hard for that. You could see at the initial part of the turn, he lost grip and then fell back into the clutches, but they're still side by side. 3 turns they've been through. Simonson up against the Porsche of Clark Quinn, and he gets through finally. And Crick working on the back of James Brock.
On Simonson pushing that hard. Cricky, he's pushing hard as well, because that car now, without the help of all the ABS, that's close, boys. Don't want to go scratching them, but Alan Simonson is pushing hard on Crick, who's trying to find a way through James Brock, because that Dodge, it's very fast in these types of conditions.
You can't help but each time you see a shot like that, you just think cash, cash. How much is this going to cost? But Crick, he is on a charge at the moment on this opening lap. Kutsamidas in the McGuinness car up the inside, picks up another spot. So they're working their way forward early as well.
It's good to see the battles going right through the field, and the variety of cars as well. We're in the trophy class here, the battle for trophy class lead, with the Custamides and McGuinness Lamborghini. Great car, this one, but battling his way through the field, trying to catch back up.
Well, that's the great thing about the Australian GT Championship. You've got so many classes that everybody's catered for in one way, shape or form. The front-running guys, the pro racers, well, they're battling out the outright championship, but that trophy class, well, it goes right down to the final round usually.
It's good to see, but we've got Alan Simonson now in that Ferrari trying to find a way through on James Brock. He's sticking the nose of the Ferrari up the inside of the SLS, and I can really see a pass maneuver coming on here. There's no doubt that he's very confident in this Ferrari. He's raced all these cars all over the world, and he's going to try and find a way through, and there he goes, down the inside. Those Pirelli tyres coming on strong and working very hard, passing the Michelin-shod Mercedes-Benz.
And in total contrary to that, doesn't it look like James is struggling to get some turn-in out of that car? He drifted a little bit wide, and that's why Simonson stuck the nose of his Ferrari up the inside. Couldn't get it done, but he knew it was just a matter of time. James Brock sitting back there in third spot now, and will soon come under the hammer from that man right behind, Greg Crick. Oh, big change of steering lock there for the Kutsamidas McGuinness car. Bit tail happy on the exit of the turn, and this is why pressure on.
Oh, around the outside of Conroy. That's a fantastic manoeuvre. Andrew McGuinness, he's flying in that car. You can see him pull away a little bit from Peter Conroy in the Audi. So the Lamborghini's on its way up through the field.
Awesome looking race car, sounds fantastic too. But here's the battle up front.
This is for the lead. This is for the lead. He's caught him up quickly. Look at that, down the outside. He's going to take the position into turn 1. And Alan Simonson overtakes the lead from Peter Hackett in the Mercedes.
Well, he moves through at the end of that lap to take the race lead. What can Hackett do? He can't fight back. At this stage, Simonson's able to pull out a couple of car lengths, but they've got plenty of work to do, that team. Ben Eggleston out there working hard in the 38 machine as well.
What a beautiful car, that Ferrari 458 versus the Aston Martin. It's just a dream come true, isn't it, this sort of stuff? All young boys watch these cars out there and dream about having one of them one day, but these guys flying around the racetrack, pushing them to the limits. And Eggleston versus Peter Edwards. Expect John Bow to jump in that 88 Ferrari quite soon. at the pit stop, and he will then push pretty hard to get back up to the front.
Well, he's got plenty of work to do once he does hop into the beast, because it's under a lot of pressure at the moment from Ben Eggleston. As you say, the car looks extraordinary. It sounds fantastic. And that's why we love the Australian GT Championship, because of the exotic machines they're racing out there, let alone the price tags. There is James Brock, under pressure. Crick's closed the gap, but he's been able to close the gap to his teammate as well. Peter Hackett, only about 2 or 3 car lengths. Well, there it is. You can see it on your screen at the moment. Not much between them, and Alan Simonson's just disappearing off in the distance. A big hit.
Contact there between Kevin Weeks and Andrew McGuinness in the Lamborghini and the Ford GT. So there's a little bit of contact, and it spun Kevin Weeks around. I believe Kevin's struggling with a gearbox problem as well. We heard from the pit lane earlier.
Yeah, well, at the moment he's in first, trying to get the super lock machine back out onto the track. Looked like McGuinness was down the inside and probably got caught out. Well, here's the replay. You talk us through it.
Yeah, he's gone down the inside. He's certainly a long way down in there, and Kevin's come back across. A little bit of contact, bang, it's enough to turn Kevin around. That way GT spun. Andrew keeps fighting on. But this is the battle for the minor places. Out in front, after we saw Alan Simonson, there he goes down the road. Get clear road past Peter Hackett. He has gone and broken the lap record 3 laps in a row. So he is flying at the moment.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? And there's quite a few drivers that are inching very close to that lap record out there, or the old lap record at any rate. That's Clark Quinn, as McGuinness has had an issue out there. It looked like he may have copped a tap. There was a sudden jolt from the rear of the car.
Yeah, he's just turned the car in. The rear's come around. The car's obviously a little bit nervous at the moment.
You think it did it on its own?
Yeah, I couldn't see anyone in the mirrors there, so it's hard to know whether he actually got help, but looks like he's just had that moment, all that hard work passing those cars, and it's back to square one.
That can be motorsport for you. Your best friend 1 minute, your arch enemy the next.
So there's a great battle going on here for 3rd place. Greg Crick in the Dodge Viper. He's got the tow. He's going to pull out down the inside of James Brock into turn 1 and gets the move done. So Dodge Viper up into 3rd place.
And great patient driving there from the Tasmanian Greg Crick as well. He's been working on that for the last couple of laps. Lined up James Brock going down towards that fast-flowing right-hander at the end of the start-finish straight and made it stick. Now he sets his sights on the second of the Erebus cars.
We've got Ash Samadhi or Dean Grant had the spin and got flames coming out of the back of that car. Hopefully it's just a bit of a fuel fire in the front there, so it doesn't look too bad, and it looks like the fire's gone out. So that's a bit of an interesting one. The big spin, hopefully he's not bogged either. They'll have to bring the safety car out. No, he's got it away, so he's off and running.
Well, fantastic. His best result so far in the 3 races prior to this one has been 15th spot. That's not where you'd expect to see Ash Samadhi or Dean Grant for that matter. Here's the replay, just did it all on his own. Snapped under brakes, spun him around.
That fire in the engine bay, what a bizarre thing to see that. So obviously it's just had a quick flame and it's put itself out, and he's managed to continue racing. But on board now with Tony Quinn. Fantastic, this Ferrari, so fast in these long corners down at Phillip Island. You can use the downforce, a great tyre on the car, and you can do some fantastic lap times around here at Phillip Island in these cars.
Every time you see Tony Quinn, he's racing a different car. I'd love to see the guy's garage.
He's got a few in the shed there, which is fantastic to see. But there's a great battle going on between the Ferraris here of Tony Quinn and Peter Edwards. And what a great sight, those 2 458 Ferraris. These are really one of the highlights of the Australian GT Championship. These cars are just magnificent cars to look at.
Well, Edwards doing a good job at the moment. He's closing the gap between he and Tony Quinn, and it won't be long before you'd have to assume that there's going to be a bit of a challenge for that position. Down into the braking area of Honda. Gee, Edwards isn't bad under brakes either, is he? He made up about a half a car length, maybe a full car length that time round.
What's a good thing about this category is these guys get the opportunity to race their cars for an hour around Phillip Island. They're not short sprint races, they're long endurance style races with pit stops. So they get the time to actually drive the car, get a feel for the car, learn the car. Peter Edwards, he hasn't got a lot of experience. He's doing a great job for a new guy to the category.
There's an interesting question for you, Jason. You've raced in plenty of enduros and sprint races. What do you prefer, the longer races or the shorter ones?
I like any lap. So if it's 1 lap or 500, I like doing them all. But it's good to see here we've got 4 different cars in a battle for position. Ian Palmer, we've got Martin Wag down the inside. Andrew McGuinness, he's coming back. Oh, we got a bit of contact, bit of rubbing. That's always what you like to see in hundreds of $1,000 race cars, isn't it?
That came from a long way back too, tagging the back of, I think it's Martin Wagg up in front. Good to see Martin Wagg back in a race car. He spent so long as an official, as an administrator of motorsport, in particularly Carrera Cup and, of course, not Carrera Cup, but in fact the Porsche Challenge. And it's good to see him back out doing what he loves the most, and that is driving a race car.
So we've got Dodge Viper, we've got Aston Martin and 2 Lamborghinis putting the pressure on as Martin Wagg looks down the inside of Ian Palmer, and Andrew McGuinness is going to go through as well. So a great bit of racing going on here, good bit of racing room each of these guys are giving them, and they got through cleanly. And that's what it's all about too. When you give each other racing room, everybody has a chance to go away with their checkbook intact, but you still get great racing as a result. No change here. We've still got Edwards closing the gap lap by lap, but can't get close enough to launch a challenge. So maybe he's just being patient, waiting for those pit stops, that pit window to open. So as soon as that pit window opens, you'd expect Peter Edwards to be in and hand over to John Bowe. So he's just going to bide his time, learn a little bit behind Tony Quinn there, and be a little bit patient. Well, gee, Tony Quinn was very defensive for not being under pressure and more or less drove down the centre of the track. That cost him a little bit. The Ilbello Rosso machine is able to make up a little bit more track time. This is Alan Simonson. He's actually lapping some of the field here. Andrew McGuinness has come back on top of him. Probably didn't see him in the mirrors. Didn't expect that Ferrari to be there, but that was very close. It's a great job by Simonson to get out of that one. Well, that's the situation, isn't it? Such small mirrors. Around the outside of the hay shed. That is brave stuff, boys. That's fantastic racing. Very big rear wings do limit your visibility, and Simonson was aware of it. Look, the guy's done enough laps in these types of cars. He should be on it right to the very end. Gets a bit of a run now on Martin Wagg as the pit stops start. Oh, there we go. We talked about that. The pit window's open, and JB is in that car straight away. So he's going to be the pace setter in that car. He'll be back out on the track. Rod Salmon in the Audi. What a beautiful machine that car is, and he also making his debut in this car this weekend. Yeah, and great to see him back in a race car. He's raced a variety of different machines over the years, as Rod Salmon, of course, heavily involved in One World Sport, and has been, he and his partner, his South African partner, have been long-time business friends, and it's enabled him to come out and play race car driver so often and be very competitive. So just waiting there, you can see the car control with the stopwatch in front of the car. He's got to monitor when that car stops. They're allocated a certain stop time. They get their driver change done, and they cannot leave. That car cannot leave till that time's up, or they get penalised. So difficult sitting there. You just want to get on the gas. You want to go. You're saying to the guy, come on, come on. But of course, it's very closely monitored. You must stay for the minimum amount of time in pit lane. And it's designed to keep the racing close. So the guys from the front row, they get 75 seconds. The cars on the second row, 70 seconds. The cars on the third row, 65, and so on, down to the 7th row of the grid. But Alan Simonson here, carving his way through the traffic. He's probably lapped up to about 6th or 7th place at the moment, so he is flying. Broken the lap record. That car is fast here this weekend. Yeah, no doubt about that, and he loves breaking lap records, Alan Simonson. And he did that on multiple occasions in the first race. He's trying to do the same here in the second, and will need to do it. Pressure is on. Onto the start-finish straight he comes. Still no rain. The track's still damp, but dry enough for racing on the slick tyres. But that is threatening off in the distance. Yeah, well, there is a small shower heading this way, so during the course of this race, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of water sitting on that racetrack, which will make it certainly very interesting. Cars on slicks at the moment, pushing quite hard. You can see Peter Conroy there in his brand new Audi. He's enjoying the experience down here at Phillip Island. What a great looking car. Yeah, it is. They've really decked it out well. I've been looking at the photos in the lead up to this weekend on Facebook. He's very proud of it, Peter Conroy. And I think he's really going to find his position in motorsport within this class as well. I love the little screen. That's a camera that looks out the back of the car. A bit like your reversing camera at home on your car, but this one's on permanently. So because it's so difficult to see out of these cars, instead of using the mirrors, they actually use the little TV camera that highlights what's going on behind them. Makes it much safer and much easier for them to drive. Well, the pit stops continue now. We're well and truly into them in earnest. The 69 machine comes in. Driver change taking place. Not like a V8 supercar driver changes.
Well, the thing
Take
is,
their time, guys. They're get it all sorted. They've got time in pit lane. That's why they've done it.
yeah,
But
it's a
there's a big
safety
one.
thing, a good safety thing. Because you are on a timed pit stop, there's no point in rushing. Rather get it right and don't lose any time when you get out onto the track.
So the first of the leaders to stop in terms of the top 5. So James Brock from on the circuit, he's pulled into pit lane. New tyres going on that car. Interesting strategy there. Some guys are changing tyres, some guys aren't. So he's running on the Michelin. So he'll go down a lap in that exercise as he's obviously going to be in pit lane for 75 seconds.
And I noticed watching on as they run to grab that rear tyre was Eden, the chief engineer of the Erebus team, a man who has got a long history in motorsport, has been with Peter Hackett since his Formula 3 days, and of course was Gerhard Berger's chief engine mechanic way back in the Formula 1 days. So he's a man with a wealth of experience.
It's great in-car footage here of the Corvette. You can see the gear stick. Some cars run a paddle shift, some cars run the gear stick. So all of them being a sequential gearbox though. So whether it be paddle shift like a PlayStation at home or the gear stick, they're all a little bit different. But it's in pit lane now from Alan Simonson. He's out of the car. Nico Halloran will be in the car from here on for the rest of the race.
Well, this is going to make it interesting. Time pit stop, as you can see. The car controller, oh, very tight on the exit there. The Erebus and machine and the Ferrari side by side.
So Alan Simonson out of the car. I shared a car with Alan Simonson at the Gold Coast Indy last year. So great driver, a lot of experience. They'll get Nico Halloran in the car, but it's Andrew McGuinness still in the 71 Lamborghini.
He won't be too far off making a pit stop, you would think. At about this stage of the game, oh, big dive down the inside.
And that was Peter Hackett as well. So that would have been from probably P2 on the circuit. Peter Hackett gone straight ahead. And once you're out there, be surprised if you can get it out of that mud. It'll just stop right there.
Oh, no. How disappointing is that for Peter Hackett?
Sorry, Peter, that's not going anywhere. She is stopped.
Sensational results in race 1, and now he's a spectator. And here at Phillip Island, here's the replay.
Oh.
Just locked it up all on his own, just too hot.
Now, I don't really understand what's gone wrong there, because the ABS, that car should not have locked up like that. So maybe it's got a bit of an electrical problem, but for it to actually do that, that's a bit of a surprise for me.
Well, either way, he's going to be a spectator for the rest of this race, and that's not what Peter Hackett likes to do when he comes to a racetrack. And Betty and Daniel, the team owners, will be really disappointed with that, but they understand something has gone adrift. Ginadasa in a good little battle out there as well.
And Nico Halloran's just returning to the circuit now on cold tyres after that fantastic stint from Alan Simonson. Clark Quinn goes around the outside, and what you'll find here is with Peter Hackett's car down the inside, we've got a yellow flag situation developed.
And of course, no overtaking there, gentlemen. No overtaking, just reminding them. It looked very intense, didn't it? Side-by-side action.
Clark Quinn had to pull out of that one because he has to wait till he clears that incident. He can't pass under yellow flags. So one of the issues this weekend, we've had a few guys doing that, so hopefully we can get that sorted for the next one. But Clark Quinn doing a great job there, staying out of trouble and not passing under yellow flags.
And as I said earlier in the first race, he likes these fast-flowing circuits. It's where he really comes into his own. A mountain of experience in endurance racing, 12 and 24-hour races, not only here but across the world. And both of the Quinns, in fact, love going to those overseas events and debuting as Australian underdog teams up against some of the world's best. And
as we suspected, the safety car's just been called, so that car of Peter Hackett's is stuck in the mud. It's not going anywhere. Safety car's out, so pit lane is about to come alive. There is everyone coming in to get their stop done now. Yeah, those that haven't done it are diving for cover as we speak. Jan Ginadasa, one of those, comes down to the mandatory speed limit. You don't want to make a mistake here, because any time that you get any penalty you get is going to cost you massively out there on the racetrack. So McGuinness getting out, Custamides jumping in the Lamborghini. You've got Clark Quinn in pit lane, we've got an Aston Martin in pit lane as well, so there's plenty of action. And remember, they've got to be stopped. There's certain allocated time. They've got to, the car controller's got to monitor that and ensure that they're in there for that time. Let's go down and catch up with Alan Simonson.
Alan Simonson, new lap record out there. You were on fire.
Yeah, I mean, car's going good, well prepped of Maranello Motorsport, and Nick's out there now to hopefully bring the car home in a good result. Everything worked well for us. we were quickest in qualify, we were quickest yesterday, and we've proven to be quickest now again. So shame we don't come away with any results yesterday, really, but we'll fight back and hopefully for a good one now.
Clark Quinn back into pit lane again, going for wets. So we've got the hose cord on the front of the car there. So trying to get some tyre temp up. Ben Eggleston, he's now at the front of this queue, and I believe he stayed on slicks.
Just have a look up ahead here. There's actually a couple of cars off on Honda turn, Jason. So plenty for the recovery crews to do. Pit stops continue. We'll find out how it all eventuates after this break. Stay with us. The second half of race 2 coming your way.
Well, we've managed to find a little bit of sun down here at Phillip Island. I've managed to come across Peter Harris from Sargent Security at the back of the pits. Now, Sargent Security is the naming rights sponsor of the Australian GT Championship. Why motorsport, Peter?
Well, we find it's a great way to give back to our clients. We like to invite them along and get them to have a bit of fun. It's a great way to contact our client base, our brand awareness. It's just working out really well for us. Been involved now for 2 years in V8s and now the GTs, and we're very happy.
Now, Peter, why the Australian GT Championship?
Everyone loves a Ferrari, everyone loves a Porsche, everyone loves, you know, the Lamborghinis. It's a national championship, they get around. We've got offices in every state, Tassie at this stage, and yeah, it's a good fit for our clients and ourselves.
We're back with the second half of race 2 of round 2 of the Australian GT Championship, a championship that's shaping up to be absolutely spectacular this year. Safety car just about to pull off the racetrack. Those cars have been recovered. I think everybody has effectively done their driver changes and we're about to go green.
Tony Quinn leading the race here from Ben Eggleston as they come onto the circuit. These cars on slicks, and you can see how slippery that racetrack is. We've had a slight shower, but it's not enough to go to wets. And oh, Rod Salmon, he's spun coming onto the front straight. Oh, that was, oh no! Oh, that was very close. Obviously, he's done a great job to remain on the racetrack there, but these cars on slicks, as we said, some on wets, some on slicks. So you can see he's just got on the power a little bit too hard out of the last corner. 360, missed the fence, and managed to miss every car in the process.
He was lunging to a brick on to hit that concrete wall, and somehow the gods have kissed him on the backside and spared him a big dive in. Speaking of dives, there you go, up the inside. But I tell you what, that was extraordinary, wasn't it? What a save.
He's done a great job there, but hopefully they'll get that car moved before the field comes back round again. You can see the battles going on here. These cars, very slippery conditions. Clark Quinn back in again to get the slicks on. So he's gone from slicks to wets, decided to go against it, and back in pit lane again. That was championship leader coming into this weekend, and that's really going to hurt his championship.
Well, it must not suit wet weather tyres out there for him to come in and forfeit that amount of time. Must indicate to him that you really need to be on slick. So what about the other guys that are on wets?
There's James Brock coming around the outside. So some of the cars on wet, some on slicks. It's going to be a hard one to see who's going to survive this one at the moment, because whilst it's not really raining, it's a slight mist out there. The track's very greasy, very slippery. And as we've got continued racing, Nico Halloran in the Ferrari after that great job Alan Simonson did. As they're now coming, James Brock down the inside of Martin Wagg there as we come onto the front straight. And he's trying to look for a way around the outside of Kustamit. Oh, Brock!
Oh, big hit! Massive hit for James Brock. Rips the front and the rear of the car off and leaves debris all over the circuit for the rest of the field to come through on. That was enormous.
You can see the spray coming off the car there. We know he's on slicks, so he must have just got on the power a little bit too hard. And look at that, the car's just stepped out on him. And bang, that is a big accident in that SLS Mercedes.
And what a great job by the other cars coming through as we go on board. Hang on a minute. Oh, that's what it was like from his perspective. But a great job from the other cars not to clean him out. Here's the head-on again.
Not sure what's actually gone wrong there, but the car's stepped out. Everyone's just driven around the outside. Ian Palmer went to the grass, just missed the back of that Mercedes, and severe damage to that race car. He is definitely out of that race.
Oh, and he'll be bitterly disappointed. It was great to see him back in a competitive car, James Brock, but unfortunately his second race is done and dusted.
Halloran back into pit lane again. We're going, there we go. So we're going, taking the wets off.
Yep, here's the safety car.
Putting the slicks on. So we're under safety car conditions at the moment while we've got that damaged Mercedes out sitting on the racetrack. So Halloran back on slicks again. Clearly that shower was just enough to put a few guys off, but not enough to maintain and the wets.
Well, it's Phillip Island. You would expect that if it starts to rain to continue. So for them to come in and take the gamble, I suppose for some of them it was worth it. For those that elected to stay out and stay on the slicks, well, they'll just be smiling all the way to the bank at the moment.
So we've cleaned that mess up and have a look at who's at the front of the queue. We've got Ben Eggleston is going to restart this race in the lead with only a couple laps to go. The Dodge Viper of Greg Crick, there's Tony Quinn, and there's Clark Quinn as well, but those cars are a lap down. They're not in the race at the moment.
Well, great job by Eggleston. Ben Eggleston leads them as the green flag starts to wave, but he's got Crick there. He's not going to be a pushover.
Ben Eggleston, this would be a great result for that Aston Martin if he can pull this one off. Only a couple laps remaining, but the pressure's going to be on from Greg Crick. That's a fast Dodge Viper, and he is going to want to find a way through.
So far, the best result for Ben Eggleston this season has been 7th. That was at the second race at the Clipsal 500. But here, he's battling for the race lead. This could be a real good weekend for him.
Clark Quinn there in the Porsche doing a great job back on slicks again. So he's pushing to catch his father. And there's Ben Eggleston's under pressure from Greg Crick, who's trying to go around the outside. That's the long way to go around there. Greg Crick's going to have to find a way through. Down the inside, can he go there? No. Yes, he can. Ben Eggleston leaves a slight gap. Oh, that's close.
That's as close as you can get without touching, and they're still side by side, though.
Oh, no, Greg Crick's going to the outside of the hay shed. This is brave stuff, side by side. That's fantastic racing.
Crick hangs on to it. Now he's got the inside line. Eggleston tries to stay on the outside. Car gets a bit loose. That's cost him, and he'll probably be taken, yes, as they come down towards the dipper. And look at Crick. Goes straight across and be defensive. Why wouldn't you be? Eggleston's on a charge.
Amazing manoeuvre around the outside of the hay shed. You've got no idea how brave that is. That is a very fast corner. The cars get unstable, and fantastic driving from both these guys to go side by side through the hay shed.
Nonetheless, in second spot, this would still be an outstanding result for Ben. He would have loved to have taken the win. You could see he was trying so hard. Crick was with him, knew he had the power if they got into the straight, but unfortunately, as they head off on the final lap, Ben Eggleston sits back there in second spot. He'd be smart just to take this and take his best result so far for the season.
Now, Greg Crick's opened a slight gap there. So that Dodge Viper, he started from pole after qualifying on Saturday for the first race, obviously. In those wet conditions, struggled a little bit in that Dodge Viper to keep up with the Mercedes-Benzes. But he's come through in the end here. All those other cars, the front guys, have all had problems. But Crick stayed out of trouble and has managed to get the lead on the last lap.
Well, Greg Crick didn't have a sensational first round, but he was third in the championship, the Australian GT Championship last year.
John Bowes just got through on Tony Quinn as well. So Tony Quinn was third on the race. John Bowes just passed him on the last lap of the race. So a great result there for JB. He's managed to find a way through.
Well, he needed to get it done, and he was able to do it. He knows this circuit like the back of his hand, and already has pulled out a considerable margin to give himself breathing space. But all honest to these two, Ben Eggleston in second spot, and Greg Crick for the first time this season is going to come down the start-finish straight and see the checkered flag, and he will be in position number 1. What a fantastic result for this guy. As I said, third last year, and wants to take it out in season 2012. Checkered flag at the ready, and it's Greg Crick and a Dodge Viper that take victory here at Phillip Island Raceway.
And the battle continues right down to the wire. The last lap, here we go. We got the Mose lap versus the Lamborghini. Ash Samadi, Dean Grant, Custamides and McGuinness. This is a great battle. These guys, what a fantastic result for them to be fighting for 6th place after all the dramas today, the rain, the conditions. And, well, Custamides down the inside. Will he try and find a way through? Oh, there's contact.
tagged as they come onto the start-finish straight. Martin Wade goes through and unlaps himself. But look at this battle. 5 of them, 6 of them all in it after 1 hour of racing, and the best ever finish for Astamati and Dean Grant. Astamati finishing in 6th spot. He would be delighted, but Greg Crick takes the win over Eggleston, Edwards and Bow, Tony Quinn, Wilson, then Astamati, right down through Jan Ginadasa in 14th spot and Berry in 16th.
Yeah, a bit of carnage there towards the end, which is a bit disappointing to see all those Butte cars damaged, but the early part of the race was a hell of a lot of fun with a couple of Benzes, and we couldn't stay with Alan Simonson in the Ferrari. He just blew us away. That's how it is. Yeah, it was a great race. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, I didn't enjoy all the pace car stuff, but anyway, that's part of it.
Oh, mate, Cricky's been quick all weekend. That Viper's a good thing. And you know, we came in and only just put the tyres on. They were still a bit cold, and with the rain coming down, it was hard to get some heat in them. So we knew when we went green, it was going to be hard to hold Cricky off, and you know, we just pushed as hard as we could. And mate, once he got the side, I had to give way, and we just fought as hard as we could. And seconds as good as we could do on the day.
Well, at the end of the round for Sergeant Security, James Brock finishes in 3rd spot, Peter Hackett in 2nd, and all honours to Greg Crick, who took out a round victory here at Phillip Island and sets his championship back on track. Speaking of which, there are the results at the end of round 2 of the season. And as you can see, it's going to be a long and hard-fought year, and lots of rebuilding for James Brock as well.
Just coming around, weaving our way back through some of the traffic, slower traffic, and got onto the main straight. And as soon as I touched the throttle, the car just turned sideways. 1 minute I was looking down the road, looking at the sea, and the next minute I was looking at the wall, and I thought, this is going to hurt. It wasn't too bad, but it's not particularly pretty. The boys are going to do a good job, no doubt, as they have done getting the car here. We'll be ready to go, and you know, on the money at Winton. But yeah, not the best way to finish. I'm actually completely shocked that I'm on the podium for the weekend. But yeah, there's definitely highs and lows of motor racing. Well, full on.
What an amazing weekend. We've had weather, we've had action-packed racing. But stay tuned for the next round of the Australian GT Championship, brought to you by Sergeant Security from Winton. Oh, Rod Salmon, he's spun coming onto the front straight. Crick's going to the outside of the hay shed. This is great stuff, side by side. Oh, Brock!
Oh, big hit! Massive hit for James Brock.